Call me biased, I don't mind, but Mary Trump is amazing. She's also one of my closest friends, but there's a reason why. It's because she's brilliant. And she has grounded her analysis and her thoughts about kind of where we are in this country right now based upon her own personal journey in an incredibly dysfunctional family with an uncle like Donald Trump. But she also helps us figure out how to bring people into the light, where we need to be focusing our attention and our energy. Because it is an incredibly intense time right now. We have to lean into humor. We have to lean into friends. We have to lean into connections. We have to lean into community to be able to find our way. So here's Mary Trump. And joining me now is someone who doesn't need an introduction, but I'll give one anyway. It's Mary Trump, and I am spoiled to be privileged to call her one of my closest friends. She has been just a North Star for me throughout the years. And so, Mary, thanks for joining me on my YouTube channel. It's nice to see you.
It's great to see you, and right back at you. You just made me blush. But I too am so honored that you are one of my closest friends and that we get to go through the horrors together in whatever way we can.
There was a line out of the new Taylor Swift album that I used for a Substack Live I did with another good friend, Leah Littman, last week when the album dropped. And it's misery loves company. And it's not like a new quote, but I guess it is true that misery does love company. But here's the difference between us and them. The difference is we may commiserate together, but we uplift each other,
right,
and we empower each other. And that is something that you are doing all the time on the Mary Trump Show, as well as with your incredible best-selling books, and through just your contributions that you make. I actually wanted to, it's interesting, I actually saw you did a really great thing on Substack about, I mean, your knowledge of history is pretty freaking profound. It's actually pretty fucking impressive. But you write this, which I loved, and I'm just going to start our conversation today with a quote to this. This is your latest Substack post. You said, "If you believe you possess a greatness that is imminent, whether as a country or an individual, there is no need to strive to be good. One of the diseases that ravaged my family, as in the Trump family, was the delusion that Donald, of all people, was great, while somebody like my father was a loser. When families operate in service to perpetuating such delusions, you get a thin-skinned, constantly aggrieved bully. When countries operate in a similar fashion, we get a weakened system that bends constantly towards one person's dysfunction and the potential for ruin." I cannot write like you. I am grateful for the eloquence of your words, but that really struck me, Mary, because I call it feeding the beast, right? If you feed the beast, you feed the monster. Don't be surprised when it turns around and it eats you. And I find that we are just disintegrating and just destroying the norms and institutions, the guardrails, everything that was supposed to be there to protect us and to keep us on the straight and narrow. People are either saying, to hell with it, I don't give a shit, as a la Mike Johnson and other Republicans, or they're standing on the fucking sidelines watching it happen, you know, wringing their pearls and just saying, well, you know what, as long as we come out on the other side alive, it'll be okay. I don't want to just survive in these times. I want to thrive. I feel like we as Americans deserve to thrive in the greatest country in the world. What were your thoughts when you wrote this piece?
Well, I've been thinking about this for a very long time. How did we get here? How did my family end up the way it ended up? How is this country basically now my family writ large, honestly? And in the wake of the 2016 election, one of the things that hurt me most, because I took it very personally, was that literally the worst person, not just in my family, but that I know, was being elevated above somebody whose shoes he's not fit to shine. And in my family's case, that was my dad. Obviously, in the election, it was Hillary Clinton. And it just felt like a slap in the face. And I knew that it was just going to get worse from there. But Donald is actually the logical conclusion to a decades-long project on the right to to create monsters that they think they can control and then get taken over by the monsters. I mean, it started with the Tea Party, and then the Republican Party became the Tea Party, and then on, and then it became Donald and MAGA, and now MAGA is the Republican Party. So they never learned the lesson that you cannot control the monster. you can only become it.
And and I take umbrage with this because one of your viewers, then you did kind of like an AMA, like an Ask Me Anything moment. And one of your subscribers said that they wanted to know from you, do you think progressives try to reform the Democrats or start a new party and leave the Dems to the centrists? And you said this is for better or worse, mostly worse, a country with two political parties. This is not a parliamentary system. No other parties have ever gotten traction. There is no MAGA party, though, Mary. It's the Democrats, the Republicans, and the independents, right?
Right.
So it's like if you're a true Republican, all of this that is Trump, MAGA, etc., that cult, it is the antithesis of who you are supposed to be as a true Republican.
Yeah, whatever happened to conservatism? Like, that's why I take issue with their use of that term to describe MAGA. Because there's nothing conservative about small c conservative about that party or that wing of the party. But I actually do believe that there's no Republican Party left as we knew it. It is MAGA. I mean, so it is synonymous, MAGA and Republicanism, because again, if, as you say, if you are truly a Republican in the old sense of the word, you cannot be part of this. And yet tens of millions of people continue to be. I don't even know what it means to be a Republican. We have people who say they're anti-Donald Republicans, but what does it even mean to be a Republican anymore? You have no power. Your only option is to join forces with Democrats, because otherwise I can't take you seriously.
And maybe, so that's what I'm saying. Maybe MAGA should just launch its own party. Democrats be who they are. Republicans, whatever is left of them, are who they are. And the MAGA party is a party in and of itself. But the reason why they don't is it's an incredibly powerful smoke and mirrors moment, though, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you really scratch the surface of MAGA and you probe the legitimacy of it, there is no factual, logical, rational underpinnings to it.
Mhm.
It's a lot of just emotion and voting on vibes, right? Because you're not supposed to. You're supposed to vote on facts, not on vibes. We know lately it's been kind of the plague of our country that people are voting on vibes only. Here's a vibe moment that you noted on your show recently, and I wanted to bring to the country's attention because we're on day, I don't know what, 6 of a government shutdown. 5, I have no idea. The 90,000 square foot ballroom with a seated capacity for 650 people continues to be constructed at the White House. Yeah. While government employees are not getting paid. The corporate and individual donors have pledged nearly $200 million. Google, RJ Reynolds, Booz Allen Hamilton, Lockheed Martin, Palantir, NextEra. The new ballroom will be significantly larger than the main White House building. Compare and contrast Mary too. Nearly 12 million Americans are going to lose their health insurance by 2034. By the end of 2025, though, we'll have millions of Americans who will not have the ability because of the failure to extend the tax subsidies that Democrats are demanding in order for this government to be turned back on. Those subsidies have been in place since 2021. Republicans are in opposition to them being extended, which means premiums are going to increase by more than 75% next year in 2026. Once premiums are that unaffordable, Mary, an additional 4.2 million Americans are going to lose coverage. But you have a fucking ballroom.
Hallelujah.
But you don't have health insurance. Make it make sense.
I cannot. What I can say, though, is that the 4.2...
Thank you for spending time with us today, Mary.
Oh, well. I'll try. Actually, I can make sense of it in the context of them, not in the context of rational, empathetic, decent humans. Because let's face it, those 4.2 million people who are going to lose their health care next year will never see the benefit of that ballroom. Like, what is
but that includes Republican voters.
That's of course it does.
Republican voters are in those millions too.
There are a couple of different aspects to this. First of all, just more generally speaking, we often hear people talk about the fact that Republican voters have been trained to vote against their self-interest. And I used to talk about that in 2020 as well. And then I had an epiphany. That assumes that their self-interests are our self-interest. Like that
they're aligned.
That they care about healthcare, or they care about, I don't know, feeding their children or educating them, or et cetera. And I'm not saying they don't care about those things. I'm just saying that there are other things more important to them. It is more important to them that outgroups get oppressed, that, we are cruel to trans people, that other people in the LGBTQ plus community don't have any rights, that women become second class citizens. That's their main self-interest. And, if they get the healthcare, great. If they don't, well, these other things are more important to them. We have to see it through that lens. Also, I think many, many people, tens of millions millions of people in this country have what's called an authoritarian personality. That means they're followers. They need quote unquote strong leaders. They hate change. They like homogeneity. They like to be in the in group. And therefore, they are willing to do whatever Donald requires of them if they are part of that club. So you cannot rationalize with these people. And I think this is one of the most frustrating things about the moment in which we're currently living. You cannot explain to them or use facts with them because it is, as you say, about vibe, about the feeling of being in the more powerful group. And they have been trained. Donald is very good at few things, but one of them is softening the ground and normalizing situations, which the corporate media has done a brilliant job of helping him do, by the way. So we will see. There will come a point when he starts saying to his base, sorry, guys, we can't do Social Security anymore. That's a sacrifice you should be willing to make America great again. And this ballroom is a perfect encapsulation of how degraded the Republican Party is and how the extent to which his base is willing to believe anything and put up with anything because they probably think it's great, just like they probably think it's great that the Kennedy Center is going to be used to host MMA matches.
Wait, no, they're going to do the UFC on the lawn of the White House, which is just so trash. But, and by the way, and I like entertainment, recreational shit, just not on the White House lawn. So here's the thing though. I saw the most fantastic AI video this weekend on social. And let me be clear, AI terrifies me. But Skynet, if you're listening, I still love you for when the computers take over the world. But this AI video was amazing. And what it depicted was Trump gluttonously with Kristi Noem and JD Vance.
Oh, yeah, I saw that too. Brilliant.
And they're in that fucking ballroom and they're gorging themselves Marie Antoinette style, right? And then it's juxtaposed with images of people with the red MAGA hats, and they're losing their homes. They're being foreclosed on. They don't have food. They don't have health insurance. They don't have farms. They don't have shit. And it's the biggest fucking dupe of these American people, the ones that voted and supported Trump. This asshole would never invite them to break bread with him at Mar-a-Lago. I have said this time and time again. He will never invite them to come to that ballroom and sit down with him. He thinks they're total rubes. He has been playing them for fools. And I saw this AI video, and then in the end, it shows what? Angry protesters, not what's happening with, quote, liberals and leftists in Portland and other cities, but angry MAGA protesters with their flames and their pitchforks going over and basically storming the White House. And then it screeches to the halt, and it basically has, I don't know how many decades in the future, and a very futuristic, very clean, pristine thing, whereas a woman telling children and educating people that was basically the beginning of the end of that era of fascism in the United States. And I loved that video. But of course I know it was unfortunately AI. But I look at that and I'm like, and I want to kind of get back to your point, which is then how do we convey this then, Mary? Because I get chastised that I'm writing off millions of people and I shouldn't be so dismissive because I don't think I can reach them, no matter if I'm nice about it, if I'm angry about it. If there's no rational thought and there's no logic and there's no facts, how are we supposed to reach these people to tell them 2026, you can't do this again?
I'm with you. I think most of them are unreachable. But that's okay because it is, in the grand scheme of things, a minority. It's a significant minority, true, but it is a minority of voters in this country. The vast majority of us don't like what's going on, and it's very difficult to overturn a democratic system if 70% of Americans don't want that to happen. So with that 30%, though, because we are not really a democracy, we have a very anti-democratic system in many, many ways, between the way the Senate is organized and the Electoral College, et cetera. So that 30%, or maybe it's 40% now, has much more power than the rest of us, particularly with the Republicans in charge of every single branch of government, and Congress and the Supreme Court, the corrupt, illegitimate supermajority of the Supreme Court, doing its damnedest to make Donald an imperial president and basically dismantling the Constitution. So what can we do? Well, what we could do is let this play out. I don't mean stop trying to fight against them. Of course, we have to. However, there is only so much we can do as a party out of power and as commentators who cannot really reach tens of millions of people because they will dismiss us out of hand. But they will start to feel the pain of Donald's egregious economic policies, his assaults on civil liberties, the cruelty with which ICE and the Department of Homeland Security are treating undocumented workers and immigrants in this country, the hostile, violent takeover of American cities in using unconstitutional means. These things will start to filter down. And even things like his canceling $18 billion in infrastructure money to two major projects in New York City that would benefit all New Yorkers, not just Democrats. So people are going to start to see, wait a second, the value of my home just went down because they're not going to have a subway that we thought we were going to have. Prices really are going up. So is inflation. Our standing in the world is a disaster. Our foreign policy is a disaster. It will start seeping in, but unfortunately, because we are a selfish people, mostly it's going to be how people get hit economically, and that is coming.
The find out era is upon them. Yeah. But it also inflicts the pain upon us, unfortunately. So here's the thing. I was reading up on this before you and I were connecting today because you've got a PhD in clinical psychology, which is why I think you know how to handle me. but I wanted to talk about humor. I mean, so you and I, not jokingly but seriously, love that movie, So I Married an Axe Murderer, and we were like saying, hey, maybe we should talk about the movie during this interview. And I was like, heed pawns now, but let's talk about humor. So humor, I wanted to cite to this. According to Freud, I'll use a Freud citation, humor is one of the highest levels of adaptive defense mechanisms. It allows us to maintain a healthy perspective in the face of misfortune and adversity. Laughter reduces serum levels of stress hormones, significantly boosts our immune system, regulates blood pressure, heart rate, improves memory, focus, attention, and concentration. So there's literal physical benefits to humor. So I thought that we could put up, Sydney, if you could put up now, something that you and I both derived a lot of humor from recently, which is the Cash Patel Challenge coins. Mary, you posted, I thought it was a nice video. You said, secondhand embarrassment for people. It's pretty profound. I wasn't so nice about it. I pretty much posted an Instagram reel showing the challenge coins and then dumbass Patel wearing, Norse god, regalia and calling to meet people in Valhalla. But I also used the music of Small Dick Energy. I mean, look, what the fuck is this, Mary, that we have this like junior high energy from our FBI director?
Yeah, well, I mean, the entire Trump regime is stocked with prepubescent, aggrieved males who clearly have serious issues.
Pete Hegseth too.
Totally. I mean, if you want to understand Pete Hegseth's insecurities, just watch him try to do a pull-up. But first, Cash, I would say coins are round, buddy. Coins are round. So I'm not sure what that thing is, but I mean,
I think it look like a hair pick. They're like, it looks like a bad
look
hair
like
pick.
a hair pick, actually. I don't think my video was that nice. I wasn't quite as direct as you were, but yours was actually better and more to the point. But basically, what I was one question I have is, why is it okay that taxpayers are paying for this garbage?
Isn't that wild? Like, that's our money for that shit. It's not like he's like, let me donate my salary. Right. As the government is shut down, by the way, right?
As the government shut down and Donald is having a coin with his face on it made, which is also illegal. But, back to the cash thing, let's aesthetics aside, because it is one of the most hideous things I've ever seen in my life. With all the guns, and also leaving aside the fact that the skull is the Punisher, that's a cartoon character or comic book character that is virulently anti-police. I'm not sure what kind of message that's trying to send to the chief law enforcement agency in the country, but I don't know how many guns there are on this so-called challenge coin. So my question is, Cash, what are you compensating for, little guy? I mean, seriously, Small Dick Energy. I think that was the appropriate soundtrack for your video.
Well, but listen, and again, humor is great because it will get us through this moment in time. But you think about all the hardworking men and women that are in the FBI that now are working for a department that is daily ridiculed because it's led by somebody like Kash Patel, who, if you're so upset about Charlie Kirk being murdered, you're going to have a challenge coin with all the fucking guns. Like, I don't. It's either so intentional, it's stupid, or it's so thoughtless, it's stupid. But the common denominator is stupidity there. And it's the same peacocking, strutting parade in front of 1, 2, 3, 4-star generals last week at Quantico by Pete Hegseth. The rambling, totally brain-addled speech by Donald Trump there. The same shit he just did over the weekend, at the graduation at the academy. Like that's the kind of stuff, though, that makes us laugh and is a point of humor, but is incredibly sobering at the same time because it does lead our country to be a point of ridicule and disdain and scorn on a global stage.
Oh, and that is something we won't get over for generations. And that's only assuming Democrats get into power. I mean, we have completely destroyed our credibility and our reputation. I think if Donald had not gotten back into office, we might have had a shot at undoing the damage sooner. But because 78 million people chose to put him back into power after he demonstrated his unfitness, his corruption, his traitorousness, there's literally no reason for any country to trust it anymore. But on a domestic level, I think that humor is, as you say, important to help us cope. But it's also an incredibly effective weapon. I mean, I think I've been saying this forever. The best way to come at Donald is to mock him, resent. Don't call him a criminal. Don't call him. He likes those things. He thinks that gives him street cred. And so do his voters, by the way. They like it that he gets away with shit, right? Mock him for being the pathetic loser he is, for being stupid, etc. Same thing with everybody who works for him. But then we also do have to look at the other side of this, which you mentioned. Think about what it is for the career civil servants, career FBI agents, career military officers who suddenly find themselves working for the most incompetent, undeserving, unqualified morons. And not only are they morons, they are contemptuous of people who actually have expertise and who are real professionals. And it was heartbreaking to see what happened in those speeches with Hegseth and Donald to the top military brass the other day. And that is another thing. Yes, it's one thing for us to laugh at them, but the rest of the world is laughing at all of us. And that is a very bad position to be in.
So as you and I part ways, like what are some of your thoughts about empowering people? You just shared one, which is, brutally mock Donald for his incompetence, his stupidity, et cetera, and his cult followers, which totally makes sense. But what else should people be paying attention to? We know No King's Day 2.0 coming up, October 18th. What else should we be doing to empower ourselves? Because it is a marathon. It's not a sprint, folks. It's a marathon.
It's a marathon and it's a relay race. It is a marathon relay race, in other words. And this is one thing people need to do. Sometimes you need to tap out, trusting that you can hand the baton off. There are plenty of us still running it down the field. Okay. So we cannot stay mired in this all of the time. I'm actually writing a piece right now about the pettiness of it all and how sometimes it feels like that's the thing that's going to kill me more than anything else. So we need to recognize that a lot of this on their part is intentional. They want to drive us crazy. They want to get under our skin. They want to demoralize us. Refuse. Just refuse. Don't make it personal. Yeah, they're petty. They're pathetic. And they're doing these things intentionally to drive us crazy. Don't take the bait. That's one thing. And, the other thing is continue to have conversations, be connected in real life, not just online, in communities in your neighborhood or your town or your city, and have conversations with people, because not everybody is as up to date on everything that's going on. And that's also intentional because there is so much going on. How do you know what to pay attention to? So I think empowering yourselves by, one, taking care of yourself and not allowing this to drag you down and enervate you. That's huge. But also continuing to have productive, constructive conversations with people who are actually willing to engage. I'm not saying don't waste your time. I've been saying this since 2020. Don't waste your time with somebody who voted for Donald twice or three times. That's it. I mean, why? Like, what? You're just going to make yourself crazy doing that, and you're going to waste your time. So focus on people who are actually willing to engage in a productive dialogue. And other than that, listen to people like you, because you bring a fight and a reality and a groundedness to this that is essentially important and that is missing from so much commentary. So that would be my final bit of advice.
Avoid the triple Trumpers, people. That is the best advice we can hear. Mary Trump, thank you always. Let people know where they can find you, please, because you are essential listening and reading.
Oh, thank you so much for that. My Substack is called The Good in Us, and my YouTube channel is Mary Trump Media. So please check out both of those. And all of my handles are Mary L. Trump, Twitter, et cetera, et cetera. So just visit me wherever.
Mary L. Trump.
Yes.
Please go. Mary Trump, my friend, it's good to see you. Thank you for sharing those pearls of wisdom and for being my friend. You are the good in my life. So I appreciate you.
Thank you so much. It was wonderful to be here.
Thanks. Katie Phang here. We launched the Katie Phang News Channel in partnership with the Midas Touch Network so we could bring you the latest in legal and political news. Straight, no chaser. So if you're a fellow truth teller, hit that subscribe button and share the word about this channel so we can build a high information America together.